we are on a mission to connect two parties that have the likelihood of never meeting using traditional methods of talent acquisition.
Your platform is speaking to two different sets of folks, both the freelance PMs, the project managers who are highly skilled, specialized, looking for a very specific type of work where they can use those skills to help companies move forward. And then we have the companies on the other side that are possibly in that position that we discussed in the first question. Maybe they're not making the progress that they want to make. They need some more help with teams and getting things done, but they need someone pretty quickly. They need to fill those roles because they have projects and initiatives. So you are the connection point between the two.
And that's the value of TalentCheetah, is that we're bringing together these two parties so that they can work together and ultimately deliver value, because that's what projects do. And that's what project managers work on.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Today we have Rebecca Medina with us. And Rebecca is a technical program management executive with 28 years of experience leading teams in the telecom and high-tech industries. She earned her BA from Stanford University, and she's PMP certified. Rebecca is also the founder and CEO of TalentCheetah, a free and easy-to-use platform for hiring freelance U.S. project managers on demand. Rebecca, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really excited to chat with you.
Thank you, Kayla, for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
For anyone who's been following me for any length of time, you know that I've been referring TalentCheetah for some time. There's so much overlap in what we do in project management and the freelance realm. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with you and get some insight into what exactly is going on in the freelance world and how project managers can get into it.
I too am looking forward to learning from you, Kayla. I know that you have been freelancing for a long time and you are providing resources and information that's so key to help project managers transition into freelancing. So I want to say thank you for that. And I'm looking forward to sharing what I've learned and also learning from you about what you're seeing as you're out in the marketplace.
Yay! Well, let's dive into it. I have some really good questions. I know we're going to have a great conversation today. So my first question is around kind of understanding from a business perspective that you might actually need a project manager or a freelance project manager because, in my experience, project management has meant so many different things. Sometimes it's, building project plans. Other times it's being that client liaison, leading teams, so many different things. And project management touches just about every industry too. So sometimes it can be kind of challenging for business owners to understand if a project manager might be the right position that they need to fill certain gaps that they have. So my question for you is, how might a company know that a freelance or contract project manager is the right fit for what they need right now?
Yes, and that's a great question, and we hear it often. So I'll start with, how does a company know that they even need a dedicated project manager? What are some key indicators to look for if you're a company owner and you are thinking about hiring a project manager? The first one, which I think is the most common, is project overload. You have so many projects that are active at the same time, and your team is unable to deliver per the deadlines. Why? Because you have too much work in progress. You don't have a dedicated person who is leading and overseeing your project teams to ensure that your project delivery dates are met. That's a dedicated project manager. And what we find is that, in particular with small teams, they will tend to hire more developers and programmers and engineers. but they forget about the criticality of project management until it's already a problem. My projects are falling by the wayside. We are not meeting our customer deadlines. If you are a SaaS, for instance, providing a service to end customers and you're not meeting your deadlines, that affects your customer satisfaction and ultimately your relationship with your clients. And so I would say that's probably the most common key indicator that projects are falling flat. You're not meeting deadlines because there's too much work in progress. And then
You
there's
know what?
yes.
Yeah, you know what? This is something that I hear a lot in my consulting work too. It's a similar pain point. It's like we have the people and they're working, but we just don't seem to make the desired progress toward the outcomes, right? So it's like, why is that? So many people are working, but we're not getting anything done. It's because there isn't that strategy and organization around the tasks and around that day-to-day, making sure we're executing appropriately. So good. Such a good point.
Exactly. And it's less about getting stuff done and it's more about synchronizing your project teams to work on the right projects and deliver against a deadline that we are all working toward. And so you, to your point, you have organizations that have a lot of work in progress and everyone is busy, but they're not synchronized. And that's what a project manager provides. We streamline processes, we optimize communication. So ultimately, the value that you're after with that project is delivered in the end. And then furthermore, once it's delivered, so for instance, if it's a new product launch, a project manager can help with lessons learned and retrospectives so that everything that you did wrong, you don't repeat with your next product launch. So it's so important to have a dedicated project manager.
Yeah, yeah, that strategic project sequencing also that you kind of touched on is something that often gets overlooked, especially with smaller teams, but it's such an important element because, like you said, it's about getting the right things done, the things that are going to move the needle. And if you don't have someone that's paying attention to what that means, then you're going to get a lot of stuff done, maybe, but it might not be what you need to get done. So that's a great point too. Strategic project sequencing. And I like what you mentioned about the retrospectives, because I've seen companies do projects over and over and over, expecting different results, but it doesn't happen because we didn't actually explore what went well, what didn't go well, what we should continue doing. We just kept doing things in the same way. And you need to have that moment of retrospection to figure out how to optimize and move the business forward.
Absolutely. And I think organizations, in particular, the types of companies that we work with, technology companies, they're moving at such a rapid pace that once they deliver the product, they're off to another project or another product. And they feel that spending the time on a retrospective to really understand what went well, how can we help our project resources, how can we do it better and optimize, is viewed as a waste of time almost, because we are on to the next product, and the time that we spend in a retrospective could be time spent planning for our next launch. And so there's a trade-off there, but in my opinion, if you're not consistently focused on optimization, you are going to repeat some of the same mistakes that you had in your previous launch. So it's really important to take the time that you need to do that retrospective and integrate those lessons learned into your future projects.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I have a question for you that's not on our list, because as I'm speaking to you, I'm looking at your background and I see you've got the TalentCheetah there and you've got the shirt, which I love. I love the representation of the cheetah. Yes. So I'm curious, why the name TalentCheetah?
that is a great question because cheetahs are the fastest land animal on the planet. And our platform, the mission is to accelerate the hiring process for organizations where if I'm a hiring manager and I need help with my projects, for instance, I have a new product launch, I have my development team, my go-to-market team, but I need a PM, I can log into the TalentCheetah platform, create an account, and literally begin engaging with candidates who can step in and help me same day. And so it's representative of that speed, the cheetah speed. It's fast. In addition, our project managers are highly specialized, and the cheetah within the cat family is a highly specialized big cat. And so our cheetahs represent agile transformation or PM training or PMO implementation. So while we are all PMs, we also bring to the table our specializations. And so in that way, we're also cheetahs, highly specialized.
I love it. I think that's such an important point for us as well, because we're really speaking to, your platform is speaking to two different sets of folks, both the freelance PMs, the project managers who are highly skilled, specialized, looking for a very specific type of work where they can use those skills to help companies move forward. And then we have the companies on the other side that are possibly in that position that we discussed in the first question. Maybe they're not making the progress that they want to make. They need some more help with teams and getting things done, but they need someone pretty quickly. They need to fill those roles because they have projects and initiatives. So you are the connection point between the two. And I love it. I love the name. I love it all. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you, Kayla. And we often get asked the question, since you're a two-sided marketplace, who is your customer? Is it the freelance project managers who are onboarding, looking for work opportunities? Or is it the client who's looking for those freelance project managers? And our response is always, it's both. We are on a mission to connect two parties that have the likelihood of never meeting using traditional methods of talent acquisition. So for instance, I may be a client and I post my opportunity to LinkedIn, but my ideal PM is hanging out on Indeed or Ladders or some other job board. So we never make that connection. And that's the value of TalentCheetah, is that we're bringing together these two parties so that they can work together and ultimately deliver value, because that's what projects do. And that's what project managers work on. We're working toward delivering value for an organization, whether that's cost savings, process optimization, a new product launch, an MVP for a startup. There's value there, and timing is really important.
So important. And I know from, my own experience looking for a job and my own experience recruiting for project managers, it could take a really long time. If you're just going at it blind, trying to find the right project manager, months. I mean, it's before you know it, your project is over. And maybe, or maybe it's just you gave up on it because you couldn't do it without the project manager. So it's such a valuable service.
Absolutely, Kayla. And that is what companies often do, is that they'll keep these projects on hold indefinitely because they can't find the right project manager at the right time. Timing is so critical. And that gets back to the Cheetah logo as well, that ability to deliver talent on demand. So Kayla, if you have, for instance, a new client opportunity and you know that you're going to need project management help because you can't do it alone, there's more work than what you can do alone, you can go on to the TalentCheetah platform and literally within minutes begin engaging with talent that has already been screened. So that's an important differentiation for us, is that we have a robust screening process to ensure that every person who's onboarded through our platform providing services is going to be able to work effectively with clients, and they understand the nuances of freelance project management versus working within a corporate environment.
Yes, this is not your average freelance platform, folks. I want to make that clear because Rebecca has really structured this in a way where we are connecting the right folks and folks that are qualified and specialized and ready to go. So I want to make that clear too. And we're going to touch on that a little bit later in some of our other questions too. Okay, let's move on to a different topic. I've been freelancing for a while. I've got about 4 to 5 years under my belt, and everybody has a different reason why. You know, maybe they got laid off, maybe they're trying something new, maybe they, for time reasons. I know, you know, for your own reasons, you had more of being present with family and taking care of personal things. So everybody kind of has a different reason why. There are different benefits. So, Rebecca, in your experience, what are the main benefits of working as a freelance project manager, and how might a person know if it's the right path for them?
Yes, now having worked and interviewed hundreds of project managers, the number one benefit is autonomy, the ability to be your own boss, the ability to choose your own project engagements and clients and missions. That's really important for a freelancer. And that is the primary benefit that we hear about, especially individuals who are transitioning from a corporate environment where everything is structured, where your projects are delegated to you, where you're working for one company within one functional team. You don't have a lot of variability and variety. And so the ability to pick and choose, if you will, your engagements is really key. And another key benefit of freelancing is that variability, is that you can work with a client that is in the technology space, for instance, implementing a new IT tool while simultaneously helping a healthcare client with a digital modernization project. And so as a freelance project manager, you can concurrently work with a variety of clients that are implementing different types of projects, all requiring your expertise. In so doing, you're getting exposed to different project teams. You are adding tools to your toolkit at a much faster rate than if you are part of a corporate environment dedicated to one company and one team.
I can say everything that you said resonated with me as a freelancer. I tell people all the time that I have learned more. I mean, I've been freelancing for 4 to 5 years now, 4 or 5 years. I learned more in 1 year of freelancing than possibly like 5 or 10 years at a corporate position. It is wild. It's crazy. You get exposure to so many different things as a freelancer. And on top of that, we're running our own, you know, kind of mini businesses as well. And so you see things from a different perspective. It is a great way to level up your skills and to stay engaged also with work. That's something that I love about what I do, is I find I'm so much more passionate about the work that I do and the projects I work on because it's challenging. It's mentally stimulating.
Of course, yes, we're problem solvers. And so you have organizations that have a real problem to solve. We were talking about the company that had too many projects, too much work in progress. How do you, as a freelance PM, step into their environment, their unique environment that has specific tools and resources and is delivering a specific product? How do you step into that environment and help them solve that problem? And it looks different for every organization. You're taking the project management framework and a methodology that is common to project management, but you are using what you know to then solve the problem specific to that client. And it never looks the same. It's exciting because you're also working with different people, different types of C-level executives, different types of project teams. And so it's constantly requiring that you up your game, that you are continuously learning. Now, if we look at AI, for instance, there's so many changes that are coming not only globally, solely within projects, but within project management, and it impacts us. There are ways that we can capitalize and use AI to be more effective, and we can apply those to our client engagements. And so there's no lack of variety, excitement, challenges, problem solving. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about freelancing and encourage others to consider it if they are on the fence.
It's, you know, it's a benefit for the freelancer, right? To get that experience. It's also an incredible benefit for the organization, for the company that hires these project managers, because you do get a different level of commitment and passion and excitement from these freelancers and a different perspective. You're going to get a different outside almost perspective. And when we do that, when we invite in different perspectives, we can often solve problems in more effective ways, more, you know, we have more innovation, all of these things. So it's a huge benefit for both sides. And then, of course, you mentioned the autonomy. It is like, you know, so many of us are living lives that require us to take care of our loved ones. Commuting is not a possibility for so many people anymore, at least regularly every day. So this is also a huge benefit.
Absolutely. And work-life balance is extremely important. And especially within the last 5 years, post-pandemic, I think a lot of people realized that working from home has so many benefits. And oftentimes we as freelance PMs are fully remote. And so the ability to manage your home life and your work life and to be able to do that autonomously has been a huge benefit. I know that was one of the most awe-inspiring aspects of freelancing when I started, because living that corporate life and having to commute an hour into the office and meeting face to face with teams and then coming home tired to the family was a much different experience than being at home and having the flexibility to end when I need to end, still getting your work done. So the quality of what you're producing and your productivity does not decrease, but that flexibility and autonomy helps you to stay healthier emotionally, physically. Yes. You're able to take 30 minutes if you need to jump on the treadmill and then go to your client meeting. So there's so many benefits to freelancing, but I'd also like to highlight that freelancing may not be the right decision for everyone, because there's also considerations that PM should bear in mind when thinking about transitioning. And one of those is the marketing and the client acquisition, which I know has been a challenge for a lot of freelancers who are in transition or thinking about transitioning, is how do I find my clients? How do I keep my pipeline full so that I have a predictable income stream?
Absolutely. It is, you know, I think that's the number one issue for so many businesses is the client acquisition, making sure that we have the work coming in. And when you are a freelancer, you are a business of one. You are a business, and you do have to go out there and network, meet people, find clients, whatever way that may be for you. There are various methods we can use. One of those, of course, is TalentCheetah. But you know, you have to put in that legwork, and it isn't for everybody because it is a lot of extra work, especially in the beginning.
Yes, definitely, Kayla. That's a great point, especially in the beginning when you are trying to get your freelancing business off the ground. There are so many tasks that have to be considered. And so it really requires someone who is self-motivated, a self-starter, someone who is okay working independently versus someone who thrives working in a face-to-face team environment. And so there are things to consider. Is freelancing a good fit for me before you transition? And that's one of them. There's that income variability. And so you have to manage the unpredictability, if you will, of that income stream, such that you constantly have to have your pipeline full of prospects, clients, and client conversations. And that's something that we encourage our freelancers to do consistently on a daily basis. You are business development, you are your sales team, you are your marketing team as a freelancer and as an independent consultant. And so branding becomes really important. And it reminds me of that Cheetah logo, and that's our brand. Every independent consultant or freelancer should have their established brand. Why would a client hire me versus all of the other independent consultants available on the marketplace? How do I differentiate myself? And this is also really important if you are considering freelancing, is branding yourself.
So important. And I know you have some resources for your cheetahs on the platform to kind of like help them through some of that process. I actually recently made a YouTube video with Laura Khalil, who is an expert in client acquisition and kind of how to build that pipeline for yourself as a consultant or a freelancer. So there are resources out there to help. But as you said, Rebecca, you've got to be a person that wants to do it and is self-motivated and realizes that freelancing doesn't mean that you're just going to a freelance platform and signing up for a job. You are actively marketing yourself. And like you said, day after day, feet to the pavement, making those connections. Doesn't have to be exhausting. You could spend, 5 to 10 minutes doing some outreach. That's really what sometimes all it takes, but you do have to do it and you have to be committed. So great points there. Let's move on to, we're zooming through. Okay, we're doing it.
I love it.
Yes. Okay, one of the things that I just love and really respect about TalentCheetah and what you've built here is the intentionality with which you've designed your services. And we talked a little bit about this with, how you're vetting your project managers and thinking critically about how people could fit together with organizations. Your project managers are trained. They have certifications. They're vetted through the process. You provide resources for them. And I believe the companies that you work with also go through a similar set or their own set of criteria to make sure that they'll be good fit for the project managers. So with that being said, can you provide some information about how a project manager might know if TalentCheetah is a good fit? And similarly, what type of organizations would find the best success with your services?
Yes, definitely. And we get this question a lot, Kayla, in particular from project managers who are thinking about transitioning into freelancing. And typically, PMs who do best on our platform are project managers who have freelanced in the past. And sometimes they don't call themselves freelancers, they call themselves independent consultants. Many have their own LLCs, but having experience as an independent contractor or consultant is helpful because they understand the nuances between a W-2 employee and a 1099 or C2C worker. They understand the tax implications and the differences between having a W-2 sent to you at the end of the year and paying taxes and having self-employment taxes that are due. The question that we often get is, if the client is not removing taxes from my check, do I still have to pay them? And the question is absolutely yes. You pay them differently. And if you have an LLC, you're doing that quarterly. But understanding that there are differences because you've done it before as an independent consultant is important for us. It actually helps us with the onboarding process because we can skip through that important piece.
That is a very important piece. And, I get that question often. I get the questions around US based folks for around health insurance and things like that. So there are certain considerations. This kind of goes back to our conversation about how you might know if freelancing is a good fit. These are some
Yes.
additional things you'll have to consider. So what type of organizations do you usually find are most successful with your services?
We find that the mid-size technology service providers are most successful. Typically, they are in hyper growth and they have a need for a project manager to step in and, for instance, lead a client implementation. We had a customer recently and they had just signed a contract with a large airline, and they didn't have a project manager who could work with that customer to take them from start to finish. So they are a SaaS company and they wanted to integrate their solution with this newly signed customer. And their executive team had been, up until that time, leading these types of large implementations. And so that would be a perfect scenario to have a freelance project manager who can step in, who understands technology, SaaS platforms, product development, client engagement, and they can lead the project start to finish with the client and the internal team to ensure that project delivery happens when that commitment date is made.
Mm-hmm. So these companies are mature enough to have these bigger projects going on. So they've probably worked with project managers before, or maybe even have their own project managers on staff. Is that right? This isn't the first time they've hired a project manager.
It depends. There are
Okay.
occasions where it would be the first time, which is shocking to us, right? How is it that you get to this point in your business growth and not have dedicated project managers? But we do find that that happens. And we also like to work with organizations, Kayla, that understand the value of project management. They have, to your point, worked with excellent project managers in the past. They understand that a project manager is not merely a paper pusher or creating documents that no one wants to read or checking boxes. The administrative tasks associated with project management are probably less than 5%.
Yeah.
Really, the value of a project manager is our ability to step into your organization and lead an implementation, whether that's a new product launch or that's a new IT integration or M&A integration. And so we like to work with organizations who understand that, understand the value of project managers, and are also willing to commit to help this project manager be successful within their organization. For
Mm-hmm.
large enterprise companies, they are seeking freelance project managers, but it's for a different reason. Oftentimes, they are seeking temporary project management help because they don't have the in-house project management resources with the right skill set. And so, for instance, I may be an enterprise company and I'm looking for a project manager who has successfully implemented Salesforce within organizations. I may not have a Salesforce certified expert that's in-house. And so I'm going to go out and find a freelancer who can step in and help our organization implement Salesforce within our business processes. So larger enterprises can also benefit from this short-term contract project management help.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking about more experienced project managers who maybe are at that more senior level. They're leaders. They have some leadership qualities about them because they understand, like you said, the steps that need to be taken to manage these projects effectively. And that's the caliber of project manager that would be a great fit for TalentCheetah.
Absolutely. And I have, for clients, been both the hands-on project manager who is helping the team navigate through execution, as well as the strategist sitting across the table from C-suite executives, coaching and advising around that plan for implementation. And so what you are hired for can turn into strategy. And actually, this is a great segue into one of the clients that I worked with a number of years ago when I started my freelancing career. They were providing professional services. They were implementing or helping organizations implement a video conferencing solution. And this organization was quite small, and they needed someone to step in and help them integrate Smartsheet within their business processes. They had projects that were missing deadlines because they had a lot of work in progress, and they didn't have a tool that was allowing real-time access for their team to understand where they are with certain projects. And so I was hired to help them integrate Smartsheet. Well, I did help them do that. But once we completed that integration, they also wanted me to help them develop their project executive reporting. Hey, Rebecca, we have this portfolio now. Is there a way that we can use Smartsheet to now create dashboards and reporting? Absolutely. Smartsheet is so feature rich. And so I was able to help them with that. And then they trusted that what I was delivering within their organization was providing value. And so they began to look toward me for other opportunities. They had a huge client implementation, and they brought me in to help lead and oversee that. I already knew their team and their systems. And so I think what starts with a client's immediate need for a freelancer can grow into a trusted relationship whereby you are hired on a repeat basis, or perhaps you can negotiate a retainer. So there's a lot of opportunity out there for us as freelancers. We have to first land the opportunity, do well, and build that trusted relationship. Client relationships are built, and they are built on trust as you deliver value and they experience that value firsthand.
Oh, I love that story. I love it. I have a similar story myself, but you are so right. We have a huge opportunity every time we go into a new client because again, we have the fresh perspective, the new eyes, but we have that opportunity to begin to build a relationship, and who knows where that can go. And that's why I said before, it really is a lot of work in the beginning for a freelancer to get that list built up, right? Your prospects, and then start landing clients. But the idea is that as we are completing projects and working with clients, we have some sort of retention there because we've built these relationships, and it opens the door to more opportunities. And that's definitely been the story of my freelancing journey, is starting out, managing small projects, and now I'm on retainer with clients doing, strategic and operational management kind of things. It's really amazing how your career can evolve. So thank you for sharing that. I think it's a fantastic story.
You're welcome, Kayla. And I also appreciate you sharing your story because it sounds very similar. And I think both of us can agree that at the outset, when you are establishing these trusted relationships, there's a lot of work involved, especially if you're doing it as a solopreneur, because you're working through the legal contracts. You are helping build that relationship by being present for this organization. You're spending a lot of time, and you're investing a lot of your time. But what I will say is that when you do that and are successful in helping this organization solve what to them is their biggest pain point, there is so much reward that can come afterwards.
Yes.
But you don't see that when you're starting the relationship. So I want to share that to encourage any of our freelance project managers who have been investing and investing, that it does take time and it's not uncommon. Continue to move forward. Another aspect of freelancing that we hear a lot is that you have to be able to accept rejection, because you're not always going to be the PM that ultimately that organization hires. And that's hard.
It is hard, but it is a truth, right? When we're building a business of any kind, that's part of it. You just got to get used to hearing no, and it's not personal. There is a right fit for you, and you want to wait to find that. Like, we don't, and that's one of the things I love about your service is you're really focused on making it a right fit for both parties instead of just saying, oh, here's a project manager or here's a job. It's like, no, this is a really specific person that we're looking for. And we want to make sure that this is a mutually beneficial relationship for everyone involved. So important.
Absolutely, Kayla. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to our next question here. Oh, this is an interesting topic. I'm curious to know your take because we know the pandemic kind of changed everything, right? There's so many changes in the world. I started freelancing during 2020, so about that time. Don't really have a point of reference before then. But in your experience and in your opinion, how has freelancing changed over the years? Have there been any major shifts that you've seen? And do you see anything on the horizon? Do you maybe see freelancing becoming more in demand or less? What do you think?
Yes, and you mentioned the pandemic, and I think that is a key part of our history because if we think back, everyone was working from home. So the idea of remote work, which had very little penetration in the marketplace, in particular within the corporate environment, there was not a lot of work from home opportunity. But with the pandemic, with everyone working from home, it was this great experiment. Is it productive? Can we still get stuff done? Can we work together as a team and collaborate without being face to face? And the answer to that is yes. And that's why we saw from 2020 to now an increase in remote project management work opportunities. In fact, that increase was 135% to date because organizations that in the past had not been amenable to a remote project manager now have seen that it doesn't impact the productivity of the team and are more accepting to this. So yes, I did see an increase in particular in remote project management opportunities, which oftentimes can be filled by a freelancer and are filled by a freelancer or independent consultant.
That's interesting. Okay. And when did TalentCheetah form? How long has it been around?
We launched our MVP in 2021. So just
Okay.
after the pandemic, we have been in business for a couple of years. We now have close to 200 project managers available for opportunities through our platform.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so you formed after the pandemic. There's been, of course, working remote. We have more opportunities with that as well. That makes a lot of sense. Do you see the demand for because here's why I ask is I've read different resources and things like that that say we are becoming more projectized as the world is growing. And so it only makes sense then that project managers would be more in demand, as PMI has reported. So I'm curious, is it the same situation for freelance project managers? Do you see that demand increasing as well? It makes sense that it would.
Absolutely. And in fact, for freelance talent marketplaces, project managers occupy 23% of the job categories. So 23% of the time when I'm a hiring organization using a freelance platform, I'm looking for a project manager. So I think that bodes well for us as freelancers. Definitely there's that demand. What I think is most problematic is the fragmentation, is I'm a hiring organization and I'm looking in multiple freelance platforms. And so it creates this scenario where I may not connect with the right freelancer. In particular, if you are working in platforms that have 18 million freelancers available and looking for opportunities, that can be this wild, wild west of sorts, trying to find the right freelancer. But I think to your point, yes, there's absolutely more opportunity coming forward. And today, within the American workforce, 75 million people are freelancing, which is 48% of our workforce.
What?
And the prediction, yes, right? I mean, nearly half. That's incredible. And the prediction is that by 2028, which is 4 years away, over 50% of the American workforce will be freelancing, and freelancers will surpass payroll employees in number for the first time. So we will eclipse those who are on a W-2 or that permanent full-time hire.
That's wild. That is, wow, that is a huge shift in the way that we're working. I'm not entirely surprised, but wow, that's still a really big deal.
Yes, and the reasons are what you pointed out, the remote work opportunities. And if I'm a hiring organization, in the past, I was limited by my location. If I'm in San Jose, California, and I need a project manager in San Jose, then my pool of available talent is limited. But if I am open to hiring a freelance project manager anywhere, then I can hire someone in Arkansas or someone in New York, so long as they have the right skills and the right expertise to help me deliver my project. And so you open up your, which was once a limited pool, to now nationwide, and you increase your possibility of finding the right talent and finding it faster, which is really key for, in particular, technology companies that are moving at a rapid pace.
So fast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing those statistics with us too. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit here. We talked, I alluded to other freelance platforms a little bit in some of our other questions, and I want to know in general from you, because you're working with freelance project managers. I'm sure you've spoken with plenty of freelance project managers who have used other platforms. What are some of the common challenges that project managers face on freelance platforms? And maybe how is TalentCheetah a little bit different? Or how do they mitigate those challenges?
Yes, absolutely, Kayla. We have had the privilege to meet with hundreds of project managers, many of whom are professional freelancers, and they are using every method available to them to try to find client opportunities. And we are open to that. In fact, we encourage it, because at the end of the day, our mission is to try to help project managers be successful as independent consultants, whether you're finding those opportunities through our platform directly or through another platform. So I would say the number one challenge using platforms is the competition. In particular, if you are one in 18 million freelancers and you have project management as your professional services, as your talent, you're competing with every other freelancer who is a project manager within that platform. And so with fierce competition also comes the likelihood that your bill rates may be impacted, because with increased competition, it almost becomes this race to the bottom, unfortunately. And we have to maybe negotiate a rate that we know is well below what we desire and maybe even below market, but we want that opportunity. We want to be able to help this particular organization. And sometimes we're willing to take those to establish our reputation on a freelance marketplace. Another impediment sometimes is with the competition on freelance marketplaces, which are oftentimes global. You are competing not only with talent in the US, project managers, but you're competing with talent overseas in third world countries. And so from a fixed fee or rate perspective, there's a market difference between what a freelance project manager earns in Silicon Valley, California, than in, say, India. And so there creates this problem of competition again. So that's what we're hearing most from freelancers who are using other platforms to find work.
That's what I'm hearing too. And it's one of the reasons why I often advise folks to kind of proceed with caution because it is so often, many of those platforms are so saturated and it can be difficult to stand out, especially if you're not marketing yourself appropriately. If you're just throwing yourself out there as a project manager and not having a specialty, it can be extremely difficult. It is a race to the bottom. I know folks that have sent 50, 100 bids a month just to hopefully land one. And then it ends up being not something that they really wanted. So I know this is something you see, something you feel, you've talked with other project managers about. And how does TalentCheetah help address those concerns?
Yes, first and foremost, we are adamant about the fact that we are domestic only. All of our project managers are US based. The companies that we work with are US based because we believe that domestic outsourcing helps to keep jobs here in the US and grow the American economy. We're advocates of that. And so it's important for us that we protect all of the freelancers on our platform and mitigate the risk of that rate deflation, we call it. And so that's one of the ways is that we are US based and we're not a global entity. And we made that decision intentionally at the outset as we were defining TalentCheetah and our mission. Secondly, we have carved out a specific niche, and that's project and program management. We call it the 3 Ps. It's project, program, and product management. Why? Because we ourselves, as the founders, are project, product, and program managers. We're passionate about this domain. We're passionate about the value of project management to organizations. And so not all talent platforms are created or launched by the type of talent that they are ultimately selling through their platform. And so that's another key differentiator. And finally, our process is such that we work with project managers and we have a robust pre-screen process. It's 25 points. It includes validating their work history. We validate their project management credentials. We speak with a minimum of 1 professional reference. In the end, we really want to get to know our talent so that we know what types of opportunities are a good fit for them, but also because we're building a community. TalentCheetah is a community of freelance project managers, entrepreneurs, and we are helping each other. And this is another huge differentiator between us and other talent marketplaces is that because we are focused on project and program management, all of us share common bonds around the type of work that we deliver, and we come together with a servant leadership mindset. I don't see you, Kayla, as my competition. I see you as an evangelist, as an advocate, and we advocate for each other. And that's the TalentCheetah community, because at the end of the day, we all have different work histories, different specializations, different passions, different needs. You may want to work full-time. I may be looking for an opportunity that's 20 hours a week. And because of those differences, if we see each other as allies versus competition, it creates this beautiful community where we are all helping one another to succeed. And that's what we're building here at TalentCheetah. It's a community of independent project managers who are all working in tandem to help one another succeed.
I see that and I feel that from you. And I love that. That's one of the reasons why I've been drawn to your brand for so long. So thank you for doing that and helping move project managers forward. It's just an amazing thing what you're doing. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, Kayla, and thank you for what you're doing for our freelance community as well, helping to educate us on the differences between working in a corporate environment and being self-employed and some of the considerations that we should bear in mind before we make that transition. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge.
Yes, I'm happy to. There's so much to learn. I always say, like, I wish I had resources like this when I started, which I think is how so many businesses are founded. But it's so true. There are so many considerations, and it can be overwhelming to go down that rabbit hole. But I know we're running out of time, and I'm so bummed because So many other questions here. However, we covered a lot, and I so appreciate all of your insight into this. And before we head out, I would love for you to share with folks where they can find out more about TalentCheetah, and if they are a freelancer, how they can maybe start that process, or if they are an organization, how can they start the process of working with you?
Thank you so much, Kayla. You can learn more about TalentCheetah by going to our website, www.talentcheetah.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn. We have a business page. If you're interested in becoming a freelancer on our platform, go to our landing page and apply directly from our website. Similarly, if you are looking for top-notch project management talent for your organization, you can go to our landing page, create an account, and engage directly with candidates within minutes.
Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. I'm going to link all of that up in the video description box as well to make it easy for folks to access that. Thank you so much for being here with us today. It's been great speaking with you.
Likewise, Kayla, thank you for having me, and I look forward to continuing to learn more as you share your content with us. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.